welcome to this week's matinee edition of Brownie Points. Brownie digging the shades today. How are we doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
What do we got going on today? What's the theme? Little Christian Kazemka Day.
Christian Kazemka Day, which is AKA Southside Steve, and he represents the South Side, and our guys. This has by far been the one that they fully embrace.
Of course. Regular season finale opener at Barry tomorrow, 1 o'clock. But let's take it back a couple days. Big emotional weekend, senior day. Take 2 out of 3 of #1 North Greenville. Just talk about that afternoon on Saturday with the walk-off.
One, it was a great series. The Friday night game, Connie was lights out, and then going into Saturday, we battled back and we had a chance to win that game, and we lost in extra innings. And to see the way our guys bounced back, and the game 3 was a little bit of a back and forth game, and to have that last at bat, Brennan Cutting hit the game tying home run in the 6th inning, and then to see Jake hit the opposite field home run to win it. It was a really special moment, and I think it compounded because it was senior day. Knowing that that's the last game that this group of seniors are going to play here at the Shark Tank was a really great memory to send them off with. Obviously, this team has a lot more playing to do ahead of it, and I think we're going to make some more memories. However, that was a pretty special one for me.
Regional play just about a week away. GSC in their final day. How much of the Gulf South tournament have you paid attention to so far?
Well, being that that they're all feeding into the same tournament, we've been watching, trying to watch every game, scout them, and try to get prepared to play some really good competition.
And as we move forward, it's looking more and more like we could end up over at Tampa. Last time we were in Tampa, went on to win the regional, win the national championship. What did you learn from that last trip that you could take with you this time around if we do end up there?
Well, I think it's always good to play in a ballpark that you're familiar with and you're comfortable with. I think that obviously helps the club in preparation. We know, what to expect. I think that from a ballpark standpoint, all 3 ballparks that it potentially would be in, Delta State, Tampa, or Florida Southern, all fit our kind of game, and so from that side of it, I think that we took a lot obviously in 2016. We learned, but I think that comes from the years of just playing there and understanding, how the tournament works. I think that there's been a culmination of preparation for this program that have taken over time, and potentially this is our 6th regional in an 8-year span and 4th in a row. I think that I think we're pretty much prepared.
Heading into the weekend, Dylan Harris just 2 hits shy of becoming the SSC all-time hits leader. The way teams can game plan nowadays, you see everyone so often. How is a guy like that able to produce game in and game out like he does?
Well, I don't think you can really prepare to face Dylan Harris because he can get hits about using all parts of the field as well as all parts of the barrel. He's an amazing player, and he's got a Pete Rose throwback type style to his game, and so the anticipation of him getting it. I thought when I found out he was 7 away on Saturday and we had a doubleheader, I thought he was going to break it that day.
Seeing the home run numbers on the team the last couple of years, we led the nation in home runs. We've had guys like Justin Garcia come through, Big B. Jake this year now hit 20 on Saturday. What makes Jake different from those guys, but at the same time, how's he been able to develop into one of those guys as well?
Jake's calling card was always power. Coming out of high school, he was well known in the professional circles as a guy with power potential and to produce. But his frequency of getting to power in game has been something he's exhibited from the time that he stepped foot on campus. I believe it was 80 plate appearances his freshman year. He had 8 home runs, and last year he hit 17. This year he hits 20 as a featured guy, and the more impressive thing is that he's doing it from behind the plate, and as guys wear down, this is the first time in college that he's had to take on the full brunt of being a catcher, the workload, and yet he's continued to produce. What separates him from Justin and Brandon are Jake has the ability to use the entire field more so than those guys. I think those guys had the power to the opposite field, but I think that we see a more frequency of Jake getting to the big part of the field, and I think that's just due to a different style of hitter. Justin and Brandon were more pool-oriented in general, but at the end of the day, these guys understand getting the ball in the air, the value of what our approach is using the big part of the field, and there's a lot of guys that haven't hit 20 home runs in batting practice. You know what I mean? Never mind to do it in a game. So he's an impressive young man. His work ethic and his ability to improve his training this year, especially this year, has been just a great sign that he's ready to be a professional.
On the brink of yet another regional appearance. It'd be the 6th in your 8 years here at NSU. With graduations, drafts, transfers, how have you been able to keep the program such a well-oiled machine year after year?
You know, I think it's a testament to the players, first off, that we're bringing in. There's guys that understand what our style of play is, the Shark way, if you will, and also I think a large part goes into our recruiting. Eric Cruz did a phenomenal job in our recruiting, you know, as well as the pitching coaches we've had in the past. But, you know, there's stability with Justin Ramsey as our pitching coach over the last 4 years. So I don't think that's a coincidence. And, you know, now turning the reins over to Brian Peters to do our recruiting, I feel like the talent level has increased. I feel like there's a mentality within the culture of the program to leave the jersey in a better place. I think the hard part were for the Pioneers, the guys that, you know, the first team in 2011 that broke into the regional when we hadn't been there before. I think that, you know, winning the first conference title in 2015, winning the first national title in 2016, those are the pioneers of the program. I think that now the bar has been set and there's an expectation level, and there's also a pathway in our mind as to how to get it, and I believe that all those things collectively have put this program in a great position to succeed.
Head down to Barry for 3 this weekend. Really not much to play for them personally, but senior weekend, we saw the emotion with us last weekend. How tough does that make it, even though we've obviously got more left on our plate than they do?
You know, I think one thing about playing a rival school like Barry is you can throw out the records. It's teams that are very familiar with each other. The kids a lot of time have grown up playing against each other, they're friends, and so I think that you can say we're gonna get their best shot, you know, and then yeah, there's an emotional side obviously to the end of a season, and you know, I'm sure Juan's gonna have those guys prepared to play us. I think that from our standpoint is we need to continue to play the game and continue to improve. And if we continue to play the game at the level in our expectations, that you know, we should have another good series, and we should put ourselves in a position to be playing well headed into postseason. Our goal is to get some extra playing time for some guys that maybe have been limited throughout the series, especially on the mound. But at the end of it all, our expectation is that we play good baseball, and so our guys are going to go out and execute.
Not sure if you were aware, but Louis Guillorme gets the call last night. Not an NSU product specifically, but definitely spent a lot of time around here, close friend of the program. How cool is that to see for him to get that call?
That's great. I mean, Louis is a kid who's, I saw him as a freshman in high school at Shaman at my alma mater. We recruited him. You know, we wanted him to come here. I think there was no doubt that he was signing out of high school, you know, in his intentions. And I have friends, you know, Mike Silvestri, who's a longtime friend of mine, is the scout who had signed him. You know, Steve Barningham was the cross-checker for the Mets. And I've watched Louis. Louis is a player that has always understood what it was going to take for him to get to the big leagues, but he plays with a chip on his shoulder, and I love that about him. I think that his edge has always been that he's constantly competing. And so when Louis been out here and you know, trained, I think one of the great things that our players have been able to pick up from him is how competitive he is. And so whether it's taking ground balls or, you know, when he was playing in the fall league, I think he is a classic overachiever from the sense of an offensive side, because he just understands how to get it done. But from a defensive side, he's a wizard.
That wraps up the regular season finale of Brownie Points. Series opener tomorrow at Barry, 1 p.m. Tune in on NSUSharks.com or follow the Sharks on Twitter at NSU_baseball.
Go Sharks.